Hello, welcome to a new week on Look East.
In tonight's programme, despite protests and petitions, the majority of children's centres in Norfolk are still set to close, with fears the plan will hit parents in the most deprived communities.
There are a lot of families around here, young children, that use that centre. There is not a day that it's never quiet, and it is going to impact this area really badly.
Hello, first tonight, more than 70% of children's centres will close in Norfolk, despite one of the biggest consultation responses the council has ever seen. 1,600 people said they were against plans to shut the centres and move services into the community.
The centres offer everything from free parenting courses to health checks. Norfolk County Council says it's revised its plan. Originally, 8 centres were earmarked to stay open, but that figure has been increased to 15. It means, though, that 38 will still close. We'll hear from the man who made that decision after this from our health correspondent, Nikki Fox.
John Watson from Norwich has been campaigning hard to stop the closure of his local children's centre. His son Callum had hearing problems when he was younger. He's now a year behind other children of the same age, so staff at the Bothorpe Centre are helping him catch up. John's devastated the centre's still closing.
I think it's disgusting that they haven't bothered to listen. There's been petition after petition shown that people don't want these centres to close, and especially here in Bothorpe, it's going to hit people hard. There are a lot of families around here, young children, that use that centre. There is not a day that it's never quiet, and it is going to impact this area really badly.
Almost 1,000 people signed John's petition to save the children's centres, with 1,600 responding to the council's consultation.
I don't feel the council has listened, and to be honest, I feel this has been an absolute kick in the teeth. It is disgraceful. Actually, that's going to impact so negatively on our communities, and for a long-term effect, that's going to destroy people's lives.
Who's in charge here? We all say we are!
The decision to close the centres saw people coming in coaches to have their say. The Children's Commissioner said the idea was flawed, and Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn visited, saying the closures would affect children's futures. There are currently 53 children's centres in Norfolk. Under the revised plan, 15 would remain, 8 more than originally planned, but still a big reduction. There have also been cuts in Essex, which once had 86 centres and now has 38, and Suffolk, which has gone from 47 to 38. The children's centres offer health checks and parenting courses and a safe place for families to talk to professionals.
The facilities in that building are absolutely amazing. They've got a sensory room in there that the kids absolutely love, and it helps their learning so much. Some of the plans of saying, oh, we'll take facilities out into the libraries, etc. You can't offer something like a sensory centre in a library.
John's family hasn't got central heating as their boiler's broken. The local children's centre has supplied them with electric heaters. He's glad some centres have been saved, but with his local one still set to close, says the campaign is far from over.
Well, Stuart Dyke is the chair of the Children's Services Committee. You're keeping another 7 open. How did you decide on those?
Good evening, thank you for having me. The reason why we've actually decided to keep another 7 open is we've actually listened to the public and listened to the consultation.
But if you'd listened, some of the biggest areas where you've had protests against the closures, those are still closing.
Yes, what we've actually identified and what the public need to understand, and I would urge everyone to read the paper that is going to our committee for next week, is that we are moving away from a centre-based model, as in building-based model, to a model which is outreach. So it's getting the service to the community, because in certain areas we've identified, and it is backed up by what has been said in the consultation, that if people can see a centre at the end of their road and that they can get to it and they associate the services that are delivered with the buildings. However, with 80% being currently delivered by the buildings and 20% being delivered in outreach, that model doesn't work in the vast majority of Norfolk, the 2,000 square miles, where we have people a long distance away from the buildings.
So you might have these centres now in libraries and places like that, but you wouldn't have a school in a library, you wouldn't have a church in a library. What makes you think you can have a children's centre in a library?
We don't believe that children's centres is a helpful way of describing this. What we are talking about is services are delivered by people to build people, and we can deliver more on the frontline delivery going forward for people if we actually have those staff going out into the community and delivering from more spaces at times and places that are convenient for people.
But if they go out into the community aspect of the children's centre disappears because families don't get to mix with other families.
And I think one of the things that people need to understand around this from the paper is, if you actually look, the concept of Sure Starts is 17 years old now. If you actually look at the research that's available, the actual impact of the Sure Start centres in the areas of where we really need to get in to help families and help children at the high end need isn't really that forthcoming. There are isolated cases of it, but systematically across Norfolk, are we giving an accessible service that delivers to people? And we found that actually there is a different way of doing this. One of the concerns...
But isn't this really about saving £5 million? You had a budget of 10 million, now it's cut to 5. I think that's the driver.
I think what you need to look at with that, and within the finance that's in the paper, we are investing £20 million additionally each year since 2016 into children's services. We've invested significant capital, almost £300 million.
That's a good list, but you're saving £5 million. You're cutting £5 million off the budget where children and their families need it.
And that's a valid challenge. But what I would say around that is, if you actually look at the paperwork on this, we are investing £65 million as a county council every year into the 0 to 5 year range. Where these contracts are 7 years old, we have actually got the Healthy Child programme, which delivers £15 million. So this is one budget line.
You're throwing figures at me again. It used to be 70 down to 65, so you're still saving £5 million.
But it is one budget line, and I think what you need to look at is within the finance, and it's within the documentation on this, is that these contracts, where they are 12 different providers and they are buildings based, for that £10.2 million investment, we were actually getting £3.9 million frontline service delivery, which basically means 39p in the pound. We think we can do a lot better right across Norfolk for people by doing it different.
Thank you very much for being with us.